He turned water into wine. I turned whiskey into songs. Too many second chances, too many too far gones. Gave me grace along the way, took my heart and led me home. Don't you see? It's a God thing for me. Now I write songs about the heartland. My heartland's in Tennessee.
Welcome to the Heartland Journal podcast with Steve Abramowitz, editor-in-chief of heartlandjournal.com.
Howdy, y'all. Welcome back. I'm Steve Abramowitz, and this is the Heartland Journal podcast. On this show, we are focusing on our nation today with always an interesting person making a positive change in our community and lovers of truth. Today, we are talking with special guest Ivory Hecker. Mrs. Hecker is a former mainstream television reporter who chose independence over compliance. After stepping away from corporate media, she built her own platform rooted in transparency, integrity, and direct audience connection. Today, her work spans journalism education, holistic wellness exploration, and mission-driven fashion. Each expression grounded in the same principle: live and speak truthfully without compromise. Let's meet this miraculous woman. Hello, Ivory. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Where are you today?
I'm coming at you from Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay, but you covered Texas, right?
Well, I've lived in Texas since 2017, when Fox brought me there, but just moved to Minnesota to get married.
That's right. That's right. I was going to congratulate you at the end, but you jumped it in the front because that's very important. Okay, so Minnesota, Texas, not very different, not different, but let's start here.
Very different.
Very different.
Very
We're going to get
different.
all into it. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's a great contrast. I like to do where I come from, Seattle, Washington State, and Tennessee, Nashville, where I live now. Very different. So we'll have the same story. Before we get into all that, though, what's mission-driven fashion?
Oh, yeah. Well, I launched my fashion line last year, and the mission was to highlight the feminine, empowered woman that is described in Proverbs 31 of the Bible. And that was actually a chapter I avoided in the Bible my whole life because I heard all the cliche sayings about this perfect little lady knitting in a corner.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize what the chapter actually said. And once I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, I relate to her so much because this woman described in the Bible as like the ideal woman, she was a huge career person. She had multiple careers. She would invest in property. And most importantly, she had this amazing relationship with her husband and children, and just an amazing humility and that love of God flowing through her to serve others while being so powerful in her career. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize that was in the Bible. And so I was like, I was immediately, oh, and the chapter actually describes her fashion line. This woman has a fashion line in the Bible, and nobody told me this. I had to read. The Bible has so much stuff in there that you don't realize until you read it. And so I read this, and it's talking all about the clothing she wears and the clothing she makes and merchandises and sells. And I was like, I want to launch a fashion line in honor of her, celebrating women like her. And I want to launch the materials that she launched because it talks about her flax, which is linen, her silk, and her wool. And I was like, okay, let's put those materials out. And so I have some authentic natural fibers, like the Proverbs 31 woman. And then I also launched just other beautiful fashions. So yeah, that's the backstory.
Well, that is so cool. And they say the Bible is the only book that you don't read, it reads you. So what you were going through at the time over a year ago when you discovered this, we'll get into that big time. And that makes a lot more sense. So thanks for sharing that. And you do so much. I mean, on your website, music, journalism, natural remedies, fashion line, you just told us, very nice looking stuff. Substack, social media. What do you like best in your day to day?
I just like the peace of working from home and cooking for my family and and being able to highlight issues that I that I know have impacted my life positively and can help others. So I've shifted a lot to like a more health, natural remedy health news because I've realized that I grew up with natural remedies and just things from nature being so healing. And I've realized like this is my opportunity to actually cover those things because there were several years ago when I was working for Fox when I actually went into my boss's office and specifically asked, can we cover stories on natural health and got shot down. And and that came to me because I was seeing how sick everyone was, how pervasive things like cancer and heart disease are. And yet my family didn't have to worry about those things because we have this knowledge. And it's like, okay, the news is about informing the people with things that can empower them. And here we are concealing how nature can heal. And yeah, Fox was absolutely not interested in natural remedies. So now I'm kind of in a phase where I'm like, I want to use my platform to educate people on that for now, in addition to some of the other things I'm doing.
Very good. And by the way, folks, the name of that parable is literally the wife of noble character. So you weren't a wife at the time, you're going to be. So as that all evolves, you will officially be a wife of noble character. Okay. When you were, am I right? Is the right
That's
word?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I get married in a month.
Congratulations again. Mazel tov, as we say in the old world. When you were in TV, this is obviously very important. It's going to be stuck to you like glue anytime someone Googles you. Could you do the social media the way you wanted to? I mean, I know you have a Substack now, and you probably didn't then, but could you even do that if you wanted to? Would they let you?
There were definitely rules on what we could post. And so yeah, I didn't have the freedom like I do now. So Fox, when I got to Fox, they were very into social media and they wanted us to post as much as possible, a lot about our personal lives. They just wanted to grow our personal brands, which I love. And it's great that Fox was realizing it. So I landed at Fox in 2017. And it's like by 2017, you should know social media is the future. That is where everyone's turning. And and so Fox was on it when a lot of news outlets weren't. And Fox was saying, let's get you guys posting on social media. Um, and so I appreciated that, the incentive to post. Literally, I had a social media boss, and she came to me and said, what are your hobbies? I was like, well, I'm into fitness and guitar. And she's like, okay, post those things. And I was like, what is that? What does that have to do with the news? But it was all about growing the Fox brand because if the Fox personalities become viral online, then people want to watch Fox, I guess. So I think it was a good strategy, but that I learned as I went that there were these kind of invisible boundaries on what you could and couldn't actually post about. And
Yeah,
they actually
yeah.
sent me into a social media blackout in the pandemic where I couldn't post anything for a period of time because I wasn't safe to post narrative safe. They found I was getting too curious in the pandemic. I might post answers to people's questions about health.
Yeah, you can't be a journalist and do that. Lord forbid. So you
Yeah.
were with Fox 26 in Houston. In your opinion, is local Fox News affiliates, we call them, as conservative minded as Rupert Murdoch built it to be, or did you have your own little progressive world that you had to navigate and they filtered you, censored you?
So we weren't an affiliate. We were a Fox owned station. So Lachlan Murdoch was our boss. So Fox Corp owns at last check the 28 biggest TV stations that are Fox across the nation. So there's this chain of command, but I would get regular emails from Lachlan Murdoch, um and so it was a really clear game that Fox and the Murdochs were playing as far as politics goes, you know. So Fox News Channel, it's all the same company, but Fox News Channel was had this whole slant of being ultra conservative, and then the local stations have this tint of like catering to the liberal urban audience, the liberal urban audience of Houston, you know, at Fox New York, the liberal urban audience of New York, um, you know, and so on Fox Phoenix. Typically in an urban area, people are more liberal, and so the local news there wants to do a liberal slant, even though it's all owned by the same Murdochs.
Right, right.
So,
Well, I've heard a
so
lot
that
about
was
his
the
wife too, having some editorial say in what's going on, and she is sort of like the widow of Steve Jobs, who owns the Atlantic now. She's a liberal-minded person. So to be a liberal-minded person in control of a conservative network, not always in the same page, on the same page.
Yeah, I think Rupert Murdoch had this clear vision for the kind of news he wanted, and then he passed it on to his sons, primarily Lachlan. And yeah, I've also heard how his wife, Lachlan's wife, had heavy impact because she's a huge fan of Biden, I guess. But I haven't been able to be in the room with them and ask that. There's this huge chain of command. So yeah.
Fauci is in the news this week. His diaries very telling about what was going on real time while he was saying one thing and maybe thinking another. Tell us about how Fox they handled you and your hydroxychloroquine, which we now know was a winner, and vaccines, which we now know were neither safe nor effective. How'd they handle your stories as they were breaking?
Well, I was primarily a crime reporter and didn't care about health stories really, other than that natural health story that I pitched before the pandemic. But um, you know, once the pandemic hit, it was all hands on deck. Didn't matter what your typical story is that you cover, you're now assigned to COVID. And um, it it became pretty clear that the our outlet and every outlet was just making sure that we were copying and pasting the talking points of the federal health agencies
Mhm.
instead of actually being curious about what's really happening. And so early on, you know, I was
It's called
like,
propaganda, by the way, not
yeah, well,
news.
right. I mean, one of the first things you're supposed to be as a reporter is curious, and like they put that in the job description when they're going to hire you. So
The
I
journalism
stayed,
schools even say it.
yeah, and I stayed curious, and I was like, hold on, the information I'm gathering is like people who catch COVID get over it in a few days. Yet we have this ticker on our screen nonstop that has a number just going straight up as if, you know, you're gonna die of this, you know, you're gonna have it for years and die of it or something. Like, no, people are getting over this. This is a disease you get over. And and I brought that to my boss, and they're like, no, no, that's just what we're doing because everyone's doing it, you know. And it was really clear there's this massive group think amongst the news outlets of like, okay, our Fox is doing it, CNN's doing that. Okay, we're all doing the same thing. Okay, cool. We're all just copying and pasting the hype. And my boss straight up said, like, we have to keep this hyped because we need people to take this serious. If they see that ticker going up and then down because people are getting over the disease, you know, and people realize, oh, I'm only going to have this for 5 days, maybe, you know, different people had it for different lengths of time, but it's similar to a cold where you do get over it. Yeah, there were like some brutal strains of it that people got, and yeah, people died, but it was in the beginning. The hype was formed, the terror was formed because there was no word of anyone getting over anything. Nobody's. healing from COVID. And I was like, we got to change the ticker. But she's like, if they see the ticker going down, they're going to leave their houses,
Yeah,
and we
they were
can't
very
have them.
afraid of vax hesitancy and vax deniers. We all
Yeah,
got
well,
called
this was
vax.
very beginning before the vaccine even came out. And so, the whole way through, I was noticing these things as a curious journalist, like, okay, this, this is not honest. That's not honest. Like the ticker wasn't honest. It's not honest to say that this is the COVID, right?
Right.
When actually in the beginning in Texas where I was, people were getting it and they were healing. So it should be like down here. But so they were overhyping um right from the beginning, and my boss said that it was basically noble and the right thing to do to be deceptively hyping this um
Oof.
because we want people to be scared to leave their homes. And I was like, wow, that's
Why,
not
so that they
true.
would sit there and watch Fox and the advertisements.
Right.
Now that we know it was a sinister, made-up lie that hurt the world, have they called to apologize? Maybe Fox Minneapolis, if there is a legal thing called that, reach out to say come back.
No, there is Fox 9 Minneapolis actually, but no, absolutely not. Fox, none of my coworkers, there's only like two or three coworkers who ever reached back out. Half my friends were TV news people, and I lost half my friends.
Wow.
And so that it's just it really is a cult. TV news is a cult. The news industry in general. It's because it's this club where you have to think and act a certain way. And if you think and act for yourself too much, you're straying from the cult. And now it's not safe. Well, first of all, the head honchos of the cult will kick you out. And then, and the little guys will say it's not safe to be around that person who's outside of the cult because
Right.
they might, you know,
Like Scientology, yeah,
infect.
you can't tell the truth. You're gonna expose us for all of our craziness. Project Veritas. If not for them, we never would have known what they did to you. Do you regret what Houston Chronicle called going off script and muzzling you, quote unquote?
Um, do I regret going off script live on TV? No, it was totally the right thing to do. So summer 2020 is when Fox threatened to fire me for just telling a true story about the about how a hospital was treating patients. I was literally doing the exact same method of journalism that I would do on a daily basis, where I go out, interview people, collect the facts, present the facts. But the facts in this case contradicted the narrative. So even though Fox sent me to that hospital, they threatened to fire me for what I found out at the hospital. And so that was the line in the sand that Fox crossed. It said that it's clearly to me, this is no longer journalism. This is no longer a journalistic organization. I got to get out of here because now it's a minefield. If I put up with this, when's the next time that I'm going to be doing straight-laced journalism and they are going to come after me for it? I'm not safe here anymore, and it's not the right thing for me to participate in this. And honestly, the people should know that Fox tried to hide what was actually happening at the hospital.
So
And
do you
so,
are you glad that Project Veritas did what they did, or do you wish they didn't?
oh, that, well, they, no, I participated with them. So what happened is that it was 10 months after that incident that I called Fox out live on air. And in those months, eventually Project Veritas connected with me through Twitter and said, "Hey, do you have any corruption in your newsroom to expose?" And I said, "Yeah." And I told them what happened, and I was like, "Man, I'm trying to get out of here." And in that time, I was like talking to multiple lawyers and saying, "How can I get out of my contract so I can go tell the public the truth and be separated from this compromised company?" And lawyers said, "Well, there's no way out of your contract. You have a really tough contract. Fox owns you." And I so when Project Veritas came along and said, "Well, why not just blow it wide open and call it out live on air?" At first, I said that's unnecessary sensationalism. Then I realized that that was the only way to get out of my contract and protect myself while doing it. Because if I go really loud, Fox is going to be scared to come after me because now all eyes are on them and they're embarrassed about their corruption and they're trying to bury
Wow.
their story. And so I'm they're just gonna scurry away and like shove me away, probably slander me in a little quote in an article and then be done with it. And that's exactly what Fox did. They didn't sue me for breaking contract. So I'm grateful that calling it out live on air was able to protect me from Fox hurting me in a lawsuit. So I could get out of a corrupt company and also tell a maximum number of people what is actually happening with the compromised news.
Wow.
I reached millions because I went viral for calling it out live on air. Project Veritas sent me viral because they I coordinated with them. They're like, you want to call out live on air this day? I said, yeah. They're like, we're gonna cut the clip as soon as you do it, put it out. It went viral. Everyone else picked it up. Then the next day, Project Veritas put out an interview they had with me. Now, I don't think that their interview, it was beautifully produced, but I don't think that it captured the essence of why I left and what the true corruption was there. And so, and I came to James O'Keefe about that. Like, this is not really getting at what I was calling out. And so he said, you know what? My team is yours then. Get with my team and you can they'll they'll film something with you and edit it and you can talk about why you really are calling out the corruption. And so it was like 2 days later that I put out my own independent piece saying this is exactly what happened. Um, and and literally I have a recording of the HR lady saying that Fox has decided to shred the letter that they sent me threatening to fire me because they realize like they're in deep doo-doo. They're doing some bad stuff. So I
This
was
is
able
the
to put
David
out
and Goliath story of our age. I must say, this is going to make a great movie.
well, thank you. Yeah. Actually, I was in those 10 months when I was trying to get out of Fox, I actually read through David and Goliath, or not David and Goliath, but David and Saul's story in the Bible because I felt like David was Saul. Here, I loved Fox. I was so loyal to Fox. And here, Fox is tr coming after me, trying to destroy me when
Mhm.
I'm supporting them and being loyal to them. And it was that was David's relationship with Saul. And so I wanted to see how David navigated that so I could mimic that. And it was a comforting passage to read in First Samuel back then.
Let's talk a little bit more about Texas, Red State, Texas. I know you're not there anymore, but this is kind of where this happened. I had a doctor on here that served the poor, literally exchanged chickens for healthcare, East Texas, and the Texas Medical Board took his license away for not wearing a mask. How bad is the Texas Medical Board and the whole fabric of authority and media? How bad were they during COVID in Texas?
Um, they were I didn't study the Texas Medical Board deeply, but the one doctor that I did an in-depth report on, Dr. Joseph Verone at United Memorial Medical Center.
He's been on.
He was he's honestly the reason Fox threatened to fire me. He was using this whole laundry list of things that were healing people but weren't approved by our federal government, things like ivermectin. And he said that when he got contacted by the Texas Medical Board saying they wanted to uh, come review and see what's really going on in his hospital because they've heard he's using something that starts with an I. Can you tell us about that, Dr. Brown? Something that starts with an I?
Mhm.
And so that's kind of sketchy. And
Oh, just an IV, just an IV. Yeah.
well, that was the part of the controversy because he was also administering high doses of vitamin C through IV and
Yeah.
some of those more natural sort of remedies.
Yeah.
And
He's been on the show about that. I've totally
oh,
forgot.
good.
Um, so they have a very unique legislature there. They meet only every 2 years. Do you think Greg Abbott and the folks in Austin, very liberal city now, as you know, did they prove an emergency so rarely, meeting so rarely in an emergency is a problem?
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, COVID was an emergency. They only meet, but they had to come up with these mandates and these rules and 6 feet distancing and wear the mask and kids in school and all these things that you kind of need a yearly legislature to be able to worry about. You can't wait 2 years if COVID's dropping people in the dust in Austin tonight. But that's how they roll. So do you think maybe COVID and the era of COVID, especially now that we know that it was kind of overhyped, showed the flaw in Texas's very fabric of their legislation that they can't operate it the way a 24-hour news cycle does.
Well, legislature, yeah, a legislature can't is by design is set up to not operate as fast as a news cycle because we don't want new laws every day anyway. As little laws as possible, please. But when it comes to the pandemic, yeah, I mean, with the pandemic, it was just executive action from Greg Abbott just saying, we're gonna shut down your restaurant. Oh, you sacrificed everything in your life savings to create this restaurant, and now we're not gonna allow any of your customers to come in because it's the trend across the country to do so. And yeah, Greg Abbott just shut all these places down. People feeding their families, they by cutting hair, they can't cut hair anymore. Everyone's running around with long hair. Greg Abbott just acted as a dictator during the pandemic for that. No legislature required, and so he's no better than any raging leftist.
Yeah, not exactly a conservative Republican in the Ronald Reagan mold, but what about like Ken Paxton, Chip Roy, Ted Cruz, John Cornyn? These are all household name Republicans from Texas that kind of make Texas Texas. Anybody reach out to you when you were going through what you were doing, saying, no, your First Amendment rights are sacrosanct. We're going to help you. Anybody?
Oh no, not the not the government. There was one state rep who wanted to uh help me out, but then was not such a great help. So I'm not
Mm,
gonna say anything. But no, Ken Paxton he kind of has his finger on the pulse of Texans, and he, as Attorney General, was doing things that filing lawsuits in alignment with how the Texans felt. And so I think that Ken Paxton was doing a fantastic job. He seems to just stand up for individual liberty and, keep your regulations off of my people. And so I think he's been very popular with most Texans.
good. Unfortunately, he'll be in the Senate where they don't do anything, and he'll leave the Attorney General role where he was able to do a lot of this. Have you followed Amy Mack and the other independents in Texas reporting on the explosion of mosques around your area, Houston? Uh, you have this in Minnesota too, Somalis and all the welfare fraud. Have you been following that?
I haven't followed the lady you mentioned, but uh, there's yeah, so Minnesota has a huge Muslim population, and there's definitely mosques here. There's every sort of religious institution in Houston. It's possibly the most diverse city in America, and it's the fourth biggest city in America. So Houston, Texas, definitely mosques there, huge temples to other religions. But it's trendy to hype and scare Christians about Muslims right now, and I think it's largely overblown. I actually used to work as a reporter. Before Fox, I worked as a reporter in Minnesota for 2 years, and I covered um, care in some of the mosques.
That's where Amy is care. She, or not care, but the opposite. I forget the acronym, but she covers care.
Okay, yeah, and I just remember it was so funny. It was like a decade ago now, going to the care office in Minneapolis and interviewing the head honcho there. Well, I waltzed right in the front door, squishy floor. It's it's like this prayer rug, and it's like I guess it's like a sacred room right there. And he's like, "Oh, you're not supposed to." Women aren't allowed to enter through the store. And he's like, they take the back door. I was like, oh crap, this is Muslims. Um, so yeah, it's really it's not very female friendly,
Yeah,
the
so much for
Muslim.
the ERA and women rights and all that good stuff.
I was like,
So,
dang. But yeah, so there's that. I understand the concern with Islamic radicals. But I think in right-wing media, I think it gets overblown as clickbait. Like I kind of look at everything objectively, and I'm someone who's been on the streets with all the different people, all the different cultures,
yeah.
and some things get overblown. I did
Yeah,
cover
if
fraud
as
in
we were
Minnesota.
talking about in the beginning, if fear drives clicks and eyeballs to the TV, they certainly are pumping that one up to 11, no question about it. I saw on your website you teach journalism now. Is that right?
Yes.
What surprises you most about folks wanting to do this? And are they naive to think it's a free speech bastion and easy to be on the wrong side of a popular issue and then get censored for it? Or are they coming in pretty well knowledgeable that this is how it rolls because we've seen it so many times, like with you and Emerald Robinson and Charlene Dion, whatever her name is, all these people that have been bounced. Do they know about that, or are they naive thinking it's going to be uh, Woodward and Bernstein?
Well, my journalism students, they know my story. If they're coming to me for journalism, they know they typically are people who already very much appreciate independent media and question corporate media a lot. But what surprised me is how much fear there is in taking the leap to jump on camera and tackle these stories. It's like, okay, you came to me to learn how to do it, and I'm teaching you how to do it. And you're paying me. Let's get on camera and get after it. But taking that leap, because a lot of them have never been on camera before.
Mm,
And I do teach, if you want to just write journalism, you can do that too. But if you really want to make an impact as an independent journalist, you should really show your face on camera too. And it is a terrifying leap for so many people just to show their face for the first time and hear their godforsaken voice. Everyone thinks that their voice sucks. And that's the thing. It's like we all think our voice sucks in the beginning, and then we get used to it. When I first started on TV, I was like, I hate listening to my voice. Everyone does, but so I try to teach people that just get past self-criticism so that you can go make an impact and help people with journalism. But so the biggest thing that surprised me is that too many people will pay for a journalism course and then not go after it and do what it takes to just show your face and do journalism.
yeah. No, there is a stage fright there. I mean, we're not actors that are trained to be able to don't look in the lens and then it's the exact opposite. Break that fourth wall, get in their living room and tell them that the bad guys are coming to get you. Like it's not an easy thing, but it's good. So would you say that, 90% of your students who graduate get in front of the camera, or do they go back and start writing for Comedy Central or something?
They, I would say 90% don't right now.
I'll be darned.
It's so I'm like, dang. And honestly, when I look back at journalism school, like, because I went to Syracuse University, Newhouse School, one of the best J schools. But when I look at my graduating class, I think most of them actually didn't either. So whether you go to university and blow all that money, or do my version, which is much more affordable than university, and you get straight to the point of okay, let's do this journalism. But it doesn't matter. In both cases, you got to have the courage to show up. And the scary part is showing up on social media, you open yourself up to the potential for criticism. And when someone's already criticizing themselves, it's harder. You've got to become your best friend and know that someone, people up there might not like your reporting, but there's a bunch of people who will, and they'll be so grateful that you are telling being the voice that they need and telling their stories. So yeah, I'm racking my brain right now. I'm like, okay, how can I incentivize them to get past this fear so I can get more of my students doing what they signed up to do?
Yeah. You moved from Minneapolis to Houston in 2017, I think, to join Fox 26. What drew you specifically to the Texas media market? It's not a natural transition from Minneapolis to Texas. And how did that relocation reshape your perspective as a journalist?
It was just my agent sending my demo reel to he sent it to a bunch of people, and the Fox Houston loved me, and they were like, "Come on down, let's do an interview." And I
Was
was like,
COVID the big change then from loving you to can't tolerate you on the
yeah,
interview?
oh yeah, because it was great. I was teacher's pet.
Yeah.
It was I was killing it. I
Yeah.
was like the
Well, it's not like you exposed the governor and some fraud or some senator with a dead person in the back of their truck. I mean, this was just a health comment, and you went from Golden Girl to out.
I know, and they exactly. I would cover all their biggest stories because I was so reliable as a top A block reporter, and then when they threatened to fire me for just showing what's happening at this hospital, um, they I told my boss, this isn't journalism that you're doing right now. What I was doing journalism, and now you're trying to shut down journalism. She tried to kind of backtrack and be like, no, we didn't threaten to fire you. No, we didn't put you on a social media blackout. No, you're good, Ivory. And like tried to like
Yeah.
bury all that while
This was your
continuing,
idea. Ooh.
because she wanted to get back to, oh yeah, we're like the newsroom mother-daughter, because she and I had a great relationship. And she like she needed me, she wanted to keep me. And so like, can we just bury this? And yet continuing to do these ridiculous narratives, then going into election time and saying, oh, we're not going to cover uh, this evidence of election fraud or election anomalies. Going into vaccine time, no, we're not going to cover people having seizures after after getting the shot, even though we have it on video.
Well,
All these things, we need to
the
make.
biggest news of the day, you were basically told, don't, no, let's go talk about the weather, and maybe we'll lie about that too. So you went from Care TV, Kare TV in Minnesota to Houston, which is major. What was the biggest cultural shock you got covering Texas full time?
Let me see.
Before
Cultural
the
shock.
whole Fox blow up, like when you were just doing your day to day, what culturally did Texas stand out to you that this is a whole different place than Minnesota?
Well, Texas is definitely more Republican, and Minnesota's more Democrat. But I felt more at home in Texas. It was definitely more my people. I had a blast in Minnesota, but I was always an alien there. I was there for 2 years. So it's interesting. I'm back now. Like we'll see how this goes. But
Yeah. Do you know
but no,
Liz? Did you see Liz Conklin's Minnesota is or Minneapolis is burning?
no, I didn't.
Okay. Covering the George Floyd stuff. You missed all that. You were there for that. Maybe you'll get your next shot. You said true journalism can't exist in an environment of censorship. That's very true. How does that conviction guide the stories you pursue now as an independent when you don't have to have an editor tell you, don't say this, but let's stay friends? This is now years after leaving the corporate structure.
Well, if journalism is the pursuit of truth and getting answers to the people's questions, putting the the average American family first, you know, then you got to be able to look everywhere for where the truth might be and bring that truth home to them. And so if there's these blacked out splotches on the map of where the truth might be, like, okay, don't look over in this blacked out spot, then you don't know if you're ever going to find the truth if parts of the puzzle are being hidden from you. And so we have to be able to, censorship just can't exist in an environment of truth seeking, and truth seeking is journalism. And so now that I'm independent, there's nobody to censor me. But I've noticed, though, what happens is there are incentives to self-censor put in place by platforms like the social media platforms. When they went on their censorship tirade, what happens is when you start seeing a particular topic keep getting censored on Facebook, your brain gets programmed to not talk about that topic, or you might lose your page. And so you start to self-censor. You start to not even talk about certain topics because you don't want the repercussions that you've learned might come. So
Mhm. Yeah,
self-censorship
if you
is,
know ahead of time the algorithm's just gonna knock you out for interviewing Dr. Malone, you might not even bother doing it.
oh, exactly. And it's so sad. So self-censorship became a big thing. And I I have a whole module in my training, my course that I train journalists in, on how to overcome censorship so that you don't have to worry about self-censorship. There are ways that you can get around the censor bots and still cover the stories that matter
Yeah.
just by outsmarting the bots.
Yeah, like these people that say for entertainment purposes only, people, wink, wink. So after nearly a decade in traditional TV and a broadcast journalism degree from Syracuse, you told us, what do you know now about the business of news that you wish you'd understood on day one?
I guess I wish I understood that it's how pervasive the group think is in TV news, and the image and the being a follower of other people in TV news. It's the biggest problem in TV news
Mhm.
is everyone in TV news wants to follow and mimic each other.
Isn't that
They
funny?
want to
Because the way you win the Murrow Award, the best in journalism, outstanding journalism, is to do something that nobody else has done. So they basically said, don't shoot for the best award. We've got our Academy Award, our Super Bowl. Just do what the sheep do, and we'll just flip the channel, and it'll be the same thing on every channel.
Yeah, it's that's true. It's too bad. So it's just so much about just getting pats on the back by each other. Like as long as the TV station across the street thinks I'm cool and wishes they were as me, then
So they all want to
they're
go to the
all.
White House Correspondents' Dinner. They could care less about the Edward R. Murrow Outstanding Journalist Award. They just want to be at the club and have the free drinks.
Yeah, well, they still like their awards too. They like their Emmy awards, these little TV news Emmys that don't actually really mean anything. It's not even about the viewers. Someone else in TV news will basically, you have to pay to submit one of your reports. So a bunch of different reporters pay money, and then there's a few different other news people who get on a panel and vote for the Emmy, and so one TV news person says to another TV news person, that was the best report. But what did the viewers think?
Yeah.
Did the
Oh,
viewers
the
care about that?
viewers, schmewers. They just need to buy the drugs and the walk-in bathtubs. That's all they care about. You launched Ivory Media LLC from Houston in August 2021, I believe. Why did you choose to rebuild from Texas instead of heading to DC or New York or LA like so many media entrepreneurs do?
I looked around the country after I left Fox. I was like, oh my gosh, for the first time in my life, I can live wherever I want. And actually, I almost moved to Florida. I went under contract on a condo out there, and ultimately it was an HOA from hell. and it wouldn't let the owners sell the condo to me. And after that hassle, I was just like, you know what? I am going to just look in Houston. I'll buy a house in Houston and stay here. I need to regain my footing anyway. I'm just like trying to figure out how to be an entrepreneur, and I have a lot of friends in Houston. So let me rebuild where I'm at with all these people around me who support me. And then we'll go from there. So that's kind of how I ended. Plus, I love Houston, really is the suburbs of Houston are just a wonderful area.
Mm.
And so it really is one of my all-time favorite areas of America. So that's where I decided to rebuild.
I gotcha. So your show, Ivory Heckler Tonight, promises to fill the blanks when politicians and media outlets lie through omission. What kind of stories are you able to chase now that were off limits inside a corporate affiliate?
Oh man, so Ivory Hacker Tonight is the talk show that I launched with One American News back in 2024. And I was definitely bringing the same journalism into that show, which does not, when you're doing journalism, when the truth often lies outside of the boundaries of leftism or rightism. So these political groupthink, the truth rarely fits cookie cutter within either of those. And so I was like, when OAN invited me to do a show there, I was like, well, that's an honor. We'll see if they like me because they definitely have their way of doing the news, which isn't always. Um, so I went there and lo and behold, it was not actually the best fit. The best fit. So that's the story of Ivory Hecker Tonight.
Yeah.
The ratings were good off the
And that's in
bat.
Florida, right? That's when you were thinking Florida would be where you
Well, no,
go.
that was San Diego, which
Oh,
was just
oh, right. I was
beautiful.
confused with the other one. OAN, I think. Or yeah.
Yeah, so it was 2021 that I was like, maybe I'll move to Florida. That was right after I left Fox. Then I decided, no, I'll reestablish in Houston. And then a few years later, 2024, OAN's like, do you want to come to San Diego? So, I was like, you know what? I was actually craving to go visit San Diego. I've heard amazing things about the beach there. So I got a beautiful beach house and tried out doing a talk show there, and with the understanding, like, I have no idea whether we'll be a good match for each other.
Yeah. You may have
And
the ocean and you have lakes, but you got the same crazy. So, you're gonna have a good time. So as a journalist now running your own media company, how do you balance the business side? Like we just talked about survival, audience building, monetization, the censors, the DC propaganda, all that kind of stuff with the uncompromising editorial mission you set out that you teach your students about. How do you balance it as the owner and the journalist?
oh, like doing business versus doing journalism?
Yeah, staying in business so you can report the news you want to report versus go out of business and then you can't report any report.
Oh, exactly. That's why you've got to master the monetization aspect of doing the news. And that's part of why another reason I launched the clothing company in hopes that, oh, here can be some revenue through clothing while I'm doing the news over here. Um, and I also have advertisers. They place ads on my social media to monetize my news coverage as well. But
Mhm.
also, I went into a little bit of real estate as well. So I own two rental properties. So I was like, I can get some passive income from that as well to
Mhm.
help monetize me so that I'm not just putting all my eggs in one basket as far as money,
And this is the problem of 2026 because the influencers, and I hate that word because you shouldn't be influenced by anybody. They should be informers, but not like the police. They are taking money and they're masters who we sometimes know who they are, sometimes we don't. Like when it was Fox, we kind of get it, but when it's some murky, dark money thing over here, we really don't know unless we listen to their questions and who they have on as guests. Some of the big names are, who I'm talking about. So you are doing it an interesting way. You're saying, no, I'm going to have like side hustles. I'm going to have a clothing line that's going to be successful and reinvest that money into journalism, so I have an up-to-date camera, I have a microphone, I have to pay somebody to do that. Whereas they're like, well, I've got this big empire here, I got to feed all these mouths, and so I'm going to take the money wherever I can, foreign governments or shady characters, um, and it skews their news, right?
Yeah, that is an issue that you have to deal with, is that special interests can come on in and say, hey, can we pay you to do the news this way? And so it's really ideal when you're, and an advertiser can be a special interest, and it can get tricky because you want to take on advertisers, but you don't want to compromise your truth seeking. Um, so if if there is a certain topic that you're trying to get to the bottom of, it's good not to take advertisers that are associated with that topic, because it might blur your desire to find the truth. So that,
I'm
yeah.
gonna unfortunately run out of time with you. You've already been very generous giving me some extra time. I know you're busy, but you definitely, I got the quote from you. You described Ivory Media as untethered from special interests, quote unquote. And in practice, that's hard, as we all know in the independent space because you got to fund it. So uh, you lived through Hurricane Harvey and the 2021 winter storm. How did witnessing those crises firsthand change your understanding of what local journalism owes to its community? And how are you going to bring that back to Minneapolis or Minnesota, where they are oh so tortured by their, I don't know, their government, I guess. Not the hurricane,
Oh,
the government.
oh, coverage of Hurricane Harvey and things like this.
Well, you were there for that. That was a natural disaster, human toll. But now you're in Minnesota, where the human toll and disaster is man-made, in my opinion. How you gonna use your experience in that winter storm with winter is coming in Minnesota?
Well, I covered a ton of government corruption when I left Fox. There was a big duty to do that, especially in the pandemic. And right at this moment, I'm not feeling led to cover endless government corruption. I know a lot of people are covering it, especially in Minnesota. Um, but occasionally I do feel pull like, oh, I need to cover this. Nobody's covering it. But what I'm feeling led to cover more now is how you can take your health into your own hands. This a lot of this corruption coverage, it's important, but a lot of it distracts from why people are miserable and powerless in their own lives. So I've been feeling led to like, wait, let's get back to basics. Like, is your health failing? Or do you not even talk to your family anymore?
Right,
Like,
right.
what's
Yeah. The
going
one
on?
thing you can actually control, right? You really can't control whether the SAVE Act is going to pass, but you can control if you don't eat that extra dessert or something like that. So with so many legacy newsrooms laying off staff, BuzzFeed just let a third go, or consolidating. I think it was Human Events was bought by Just the News, and before that it was Post Millennial, so consolidating. Do you see the country heading toward a news desert problem? I know Texas is, and is that a great position for independent media renaissance?
It is a great position when for independent media when news organizations start shutting down. I don't think we're anywhere near a news desert, and um, I think the reason that these news corporations or bigger news organizations are shrinking and shutting down is because independent media is growing so much. People have shifted to wanting to watch an individual news influencer on TikTok instead of consuming news from their favorite news website, and so these news websites have hired this whole staff, and suddenly people are just switching to watching a news influencer on TikTok. And so it's hurting organizations, but it's actually a good thing, I think, because these individual news influencers are sprinkled all across America, including in former news deserts. So, like parts of East Texas are so remote that there's no news outlet that reaches that far. but there can be one guy with his iPhone who's out there actually covering what's happening there. And yeah, the whole world might not know about that guy, but the local community probably does because he's the one guy actually finally showing what's happening. And that is exactly what we need is all of these little news influencers sprinkled everywhere and filling in the blanks for the people and actually getting paid directly for their services in the monetization ways that we briefly touched on, so that they're not working for a news organization that controls them, that only lets them drive, this far.
Hmm.
So I just think it's a beautiful thing that's happening. It
It's
sucks
no
for the big
different than the
organization.
independent movie makers who broke away from the studio system, or the independent artists in music who broke away from the labels. This is really like Luke Skywalker breaking away from the Death Star. We're to a point now where if you have a phone and TikTok Live, you can beat the NBC nightly news. That's cool.
Yeah.
And you've built a substantial following through social media and digital platforms rather than the traditional broadcast, which you did get your name out there, but it's gone beyond that since. Probably more viewers now than then. How has the Texas audience or the country responded to your shift to digital first reporting compared to TV viewing audience you used to serve? Have you heard?
Well, I have much more of a relationship with my audience now. I mean, people come to me to get informed now. Before, Fox is having me just post my personal life, and it was mainly creepy guys like hitting on me in the comments or something. Now it's actually like,
No doubt.
now I'm actually informing people, and yeah, I have grown a huge audience, and you can make a whole living off of just informing people through social media, which is what I've done. And it's so funny, just yesterday someone commented, so where are you broadcasting from now so that I can tune in? I was like, right here, you're watching my reports.
Yeah.
And it's like it doesn't click for people. Oh yeah, this is the platform. It's Instagram is the platform.
Yeah, I had the same question today. Where would you see your show? Anywhere, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, wherever you get it. It moves, you can hear it. You just can't tune in at 5 if you want to see it. Well, you can, but you can't see it on the network. Where do you get your news?
Oh man, I well, right now I'm staying with my fiance's parents while I'm preparing to get married, and uh they have Fox News on non-stop. And so it's like I actually,
They pulled you back in. You can't escape it.
yeah, so I stopped watching. I mean,
Wait, that's legal in Minnesota. You
I
did say that was okay. It must be a satellite
yeah,
or some kind of ham radio.
they're not the average Minnesotans, but I I get informed a lot by Fox News, whether I have a choice on it or not right now. But
Awesome.
yeah, that's
Well,
been
Minnesota has been in the news a lot lately with Tom Holman there and the ice and the whole thing. And of course, Walls and the frauds and the Somalis and Omar. I mean, it does seem like it's very popular. It was almost vice president. So where would the world be if that didn't had happened? If you could assign yourself one major investigative project right now, no budget constraints, no gatekeepers, no risk, what story would you tell and why is it the most important one to you right now?
wow, that's a big one. I want to get into cancer cures, and actually I want to get to the bottom of just how much cancer might just be parasites. That's we've been getting more and more evidence on a lot of cancer cases that seem to be mimicking parasites.
Yeah.
The fact that anti-parasitics seem to destroy the cancer.
Yeah, and the only reason that news hit the third page of the newspaper is because ivermectin, which was a cure for river blindness and parasites, was all of a sudden the miracle cure that we could not speak its name during COVID. And you said it on TV, so there you go. I mean, it literally, we never would have even thought that cancer was parasites unless that had broken it out. And here you go. Good job.
Yeah, but it needs to be thoroughly investigated and have the facts presented in a journalistic way so that people can even believe the truth either way. But
I
right
think I've said
now,
it on this show 3 times, so I'm demonetized on this show, which doesn't matter to me. But one day we'll look back and go, we talked about that. They should have figured that out earlier, but they wouldn't let us. They demonetized us.
wow, yeah, it's
YouTube is still at it. They're still the bosses. Well, Ivory, I want to thank you for your time. Tell our listeners where they can go to find out more about you and your social media. It's pretty cool,
well,
actually.
my biggest social media platform is Instagram. That's real.ivory on Instagram. But you can also just search my name anywhere and you can find me. I post almost everywhere. And I did just reopen enrollment. I'm doing one-on-one training with journalism students. I That's going to be this fall, so a whole fall semester of training you one-on-one to learn how to do the news for real. And I had
After the wedding's out of the way.
exactly. I had experimented with doing a class setting, but I was just like, you know what? Right now I just need to do one-on-one because I need to be in this person's corner so much that there is no way they're not going to put their face on camera and go out and help America with its news stories.
Yes. And Substack too, right? Health with Ivory.
That's right. Yes, I just started a Substack this year, so that's my new baby project.
There you go. All right. Well, I want to thank you again for coming on with us. Best wishes to you and Corey, is it? It's Corey.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
awesome. Well, hang on, everybody. I will be right back.
I'll write songs about the heartland. My heartland's in Tennessee.
Thanks for coming back. That's it for this episode. Thank you, Ivory Hecker. What a brave and engaging woman. And congratulations on your upcoming nuptials. And thanks for focusing on our health and proving there is life after Fox in independent journalism. Check her out on Substack and social media. I think you'll like it. By the way, she mentioned the wife of noble character, Proverbs 31. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. You just talked to one. This is Goodbye for Now. I'm your host, Steve Abramowitz, editor-in-chief of HeartlandJournal.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe. Pass it around and around and around. We only grow with your help. She only gets heard with your help. Please do. And still ad-free. Peace in our time and glory to God, beholden to nobody but God. Praise be.
Outages across the region. Fox 26 reporter Ivory Hecker is live in Montgomery County to take a look at that aspect.
Thanks, guys. That's right. Before we get to that story, I want to let you, the viewers, know that Fox Corp has been muzzling me to keep certain information from you, the viewers. And from what I'm gathering, I am not the only reporter being subjected to this. I am going to be releasing some recordings about what goes on behind the scenes at Fox because it applies to you, the viewers. I found a nonprofit journalism group called Project Veritas. It's going to help put that out tomorrow, so tune into them. But as for this heat wave across Texas, you can see what it's doing to AC units. This one broken down as we
It's a long way to Nashville from that Napa Valley vine. Put me on a road less traveled. Lord, now I know why. God knew I'd get there in His perfect time.
Heartland Journal Podcast is the media property of heartlandjournal.com, where you can find news stories, commentary, and content serving the heartland of America. Any views or opinions represented on the podcast are personal and belong solely to the creator and do not represent those of the people, institutions, or organizations that the creator may or may not be associated with in professional or personal capacity unless explicitly stated.
Now I write songs about the heartland. My heartland's in Tennessee. Now I write songs about the heartland. My heartland's in Tennessee.